Hello, this is Tom from anti-proton.com. Recently I read something, and I don't remember where I read it, but I read something, perhaps somebody can remember where it is in the web, where somebody stated that a scintillator, a gamma scintillator like this guy right here, was somehow less sensitive, less effective than a Geiger counter. Right off the bat I wasn't sure what to make of that, so I looked into it a little bit just to see what they were saying, and I was kind of blown away. I can't imagine why anybody would think that. It would be sort of like saying that a glass of water is heavier than a 50-gallon drum of water. They're sort of obviously not like that. Gamma spectroscopy has been used by scientists for 50, 60, something like that years, and it is well known to be better than Geiger counters and more sensitive than Geiger counters for most applications. Not all, and I'll show you in just a minute. I like to show you things that I say as opposed to just saying them, because it's easy to talk. It's not easy to show. But basically put, I thought I would clear it up. I don't remember where I read it, and I'm not too worried about where I read it because it doesn't really matter. It flies in the face of science books and everything. If you take any classes in physics or science, if you talk to any doctor, it won't take about more than a minute or two to figure out the truth, which is, of course, the scintillator can detect much better than the Geiger counter for most scenarios. But let me show you, because it's easier just to show you. All right, before me I have a couple Geiger counters. The one that was that they were talking about was an inspector. This is an inspector EXP Plus, top of the line inspector. It has exactly the same probe as the little handheld version of it. It's an LND model 7317 probe. It's a big wide pancake probe. Absolutely a great Geiger counter, by the way, too. When it comes to exposure and stuff and testing for things, if you're going to use a Geiger counter, I'd absolutely recommend getting one of these. I totally agree with the person that the inspector is top of the line. But I don't agree on everything. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start off with the simplest way to explain all of this. Let me cut on this old CDV 700. I just put it in for fun. I mean, CDV 700 is kind of out of its league. Let's open up the beta shield so it gets max dose. Right off the bat, when you look at it, the oops, can't see it, can you? Let's put them all together. Okay. By the way, the check source for this is on this side, so it's not actually contaminating anything here. The inspector is giving us a background of 54 counts per minute, 48 counts per minute. You get the idea. It's in the high 30s to maybe the low 60s, somewhere in that area. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Because the little CRM 100, which is basically a rad alert, same sort of thing. It's the same Geiger counter, the same tube, the LND 712. It's the same tube that you'd find in a, what is that thing called? The Gamma Scout, same thing. It's giving you 17 counts per minute, 15, 14, somewhere in there. Okay, so this is 2 or 3 times greater than this. And sometimes this can be as much as 10 times better depending on what it's looking at. Because this thing is awesome, don't get me wrong. The little pickle probe here on my CDV 700 is giving me 30 counts every now and then, 20 counts when the needle goes, but of course that's not really accurate. It sounds to me more like 1 count every 10 seconds or so. Not much at all. All right, let's see what the scintillator is showing us. Let me attach the camera, and this is of course running up the wires here and into the box. Look at its activity light. Oh my God, it's flickering at full speed. Let's move that over here and look and see what it's showing us on the screen. On the screen, and it's still sitting right there. I haven't touched it. It's showing us about, looks like an average of about 600 so about 675 counts in 10 seconds. 678, 654, 620 something, 690, 650. Okay, so just sitting right there, it's getting about, let's say, every 10 seconds, 600 counts. So this thing right here is getting 60 counts per second. 60 counts per second. This is getting, at most, maybe 60 per minute. I mean, right there, that should kind of sort of just give the whole thing away. But let's prove it more than this. Let's prove it more, because there are actually some benefits to the Geiger counter. Let's go with the first one right off the bat. The first benefit of the Geiger counter over the scintillator, and there is a benefit. I know I'm probably over precautious with my gloves, but why not? Here. This, oops, look at that, see? Right onto the glove. This is polonium-210. It's a perfectly legal alpha emitter that you can own. By the way, ripping apart your smoke alarm, bad idea. Don't do that. You should use one of these guys right here. This little guy, let's see what it does. Against the CRM100, CRM100 picks up the polonium-210 just fine. By the way, polonium-210, things like this are found in Fukushima fallout. Maybe not polonium-210 itself, a little bit, but things like americium, for example, which is another potent alpha emitter, they all do exist in the fallout. So it's possible to find alpha emitters, in fact a lot of them. We're getting near 1,000 counts there. 800? This is nasty stuff too. It's what killed that Ukrainian guy. Remember Litvinenko, I think was his name? 1800? It's scaling now. 2000? Okay, so we're getting right around 2,000 counts a minute off of this thing. Not too bad. Go figure. You're not getting anything off of the CDV 700. It doesn't have a beta. It doesn't have a beta slash alpha window. I'm sorry, it has a beta window, but it doesn't have an alpha window. The pancake type, the little thin mica window. It can't detect this, and it's not going to detect this. It's not even worth trying. I'll show you what this inspector does. This inspector takes the cake. It wins. Let me prop the inspector up a little bit. Let's cut the sound off and let's cut the sound on. Listen to what this thing. Oops. Listen to what this thing does. It goes absolutely bananas. 70 counts. 1,014. I'm not touching it, it's just very close. 2,000. 28. 35. 4268. Already at 4,000, 5,000. 57. So as you can see, between the Geiger counters, the inspector is winning easily. 7,000. So about 7,000 counts per minute off of this thing. Let's see what the scintillator gets. Well, let's put that right up against the scintillator and detach it, and I can already tell you what the scintillator is going to get. Let's scale this up just a bit. Do you see the line? It's filling up slowly. The line goes up. It's raising 10 seconds per channel here. And this channel is maybe a tiny drop more, barely. And the only reason it's getting them is the alphas are slamming into the aluminum and causing secondary X-rays called Bremsstrahlung, and barely any of that. The scintillator is basically blind to the alpha. So right there, the Geiger counter wins, because the Geiger counter can't detect the alpha at all. I should point out, though, that there is something called alpha spectroscopy, in which case you use an alpha scintillator, and an alpha scintillator can detect significantly more alphas than the inspector can. Alpha spectrometers, you know, you're looking at $5,000–10,000 for one of those. Well, it's expensive, but it's significantly better than the inspector. But a regular gamma spectrometer is not. Now let me tell you the benefit why you'd want to get the alpha spectrometer as opposed to the inspector. And it's the same for all of the things I'm going to show you here. The spectrometer can do something special. The scintillation counter and spectrometer are able to tell you what's in the radioactive material. Again, an alpha spectrometer would actually tell you that this was polonium-210 as opposed to perhaps americium-241. Geiger counter cannot do that. Cannot do that. Next up on the list, potassium. Potassium chloride, right here. Look at that stuff. Alright, let's see. Let's go against the side of the container. Wow. What about over the top? This little Geiger counter just doesn't do it. Note to prospective purchasers, do not buy CRM 100. It's nice, but not really. Alright, let's see how the CDV 700 deals with it. The CDV 700 is not doing too bad. It's picking up a few. Let's get it inside of here. I don't want to actually touch the probe. If I get it really close, it picks up a couple. Not bad. Look at that. Almost 100 counts. Let's see what the inspector does. Oops. From the side, not too much. The borosilicate glass blocks most of it, but from the top, whoa, there we go. Ta-da! Ta-da! See, no tricks. Oops, I gotta hold that where you can see it, don't I? 110, and if I put this right up against it, I could get as much as 500 off of this salt. I'd get a little more off the other ones too. That's 200 counts per minute. Let's see what the scintillator does. This is a beta emitter, but it also produces an alpha particle. Maybe the scintillator will do better. And it is. That last time was 740 counts. That's 74 counts per second. This next time is 674. That's 67 counts per minute. So it looks like the gamma spectrometer can detect this potassium chloride salt a little bit. It's getting an additional 5-6 counts per second more. So you're saying, okay, fine. So far it's still looking to me like the inspector's winning. Well, let's see if that actually holds up with Fukushima style fallout. First up on the list, actual Fukushima fallout. This right here is a soil sample from Japan. It is an actual Japanese, if you like, soil sample. This is the real deal. It contains cesium-134 and cesium-137, as well as probably some other nasties. Do you know how I know that it has cesium-137 and cesium-134 in it? Because gamma spectroscopy can tell me what's in it. My Geiger counter can't. I don't even know why I'm going to test it with this thing. Wow. The count went down. Oh, there it goes. It went up a little. 15, 19. It'll go up a little. This thing's not completely useless. You get the idea. It's not doing anything. What about this guy? Yeah, CDV 700's not doing too bad. It was designed for this kind of fallout. It's getting. I saw 75 counts per minute there for a second. Down to around 50. Okay, let's see the inspector go. Sound on. Yeah, inspector's doing a good job again. Look at that. 70. By the way, when you pull this out of its glass container, the inspector can get over 300 on the sample. I know because I've tested it. I think it was 350. It's in my research report on Japanese fallout where I tested a whole bunch of samples using gamma spectroscopy, which is the correct scientific method for testing them. One could also use something called liquid beta spectroscopy if you wanted to know what was in your beta emitters. Again, the Geiger counter cannot do spectroscopy, which is the ability to detect isotopes and know what they are. It can't do it. Now, we're getting about 250 counts per minute here, probably a little bit more. Maybe not. Let's say 250. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's move this away. Let's see what Mr. Scintillator thinks. And I want you to look very carefully right there at that dot if you can see it. I put this in front of it, the dot becomes solid. Why is the dot solid? I'll show you. Because look at that dot go. Look at the next one go. See that line there? Each one of these lines is one channel. It's 10 seconds worth of counting. Woo! Look at that go. Holy crap. As you can see, Yeah. See? Both hands. Actually, you can see my reflection, right? See my reflection here? Hi. Right there it is. Look at that go. Now let's go up here and see what these counts look like. Let's go up here. We have 3,063. That would be 306 counts per second. 3037, 3081. So we're looking at around 300 counts per second. Per second. The inspector couldn't get 300 in 1 minute. Now who wins? But let's see something different. Let's see the ultimate proof. You see, when you're dealing with only beta and only alpha, pure beta and pure alpha emitters, the Geiger counter does have a one-up over the over the gamma spectrometer. But the reality is, in most actual events, like Fukushima, for example, you're not going to get that. You're going to get this. Fukushima produces lots and lots of cesium-137. Here's a real cesium-137 check source. 3737 becquerels. Alright, so about 1/10 of a microcurie. Let's see how everyone deals with these. First, let's flip it over too, so we have the window exposed. First, the CDV700. Hard over. Times 10. Just going to hold that where you can see it. We're looking at 500-600 counts, something like that maybe. There we go, to get the beta shield over top of it. Check that out. 1,000 counts per minute. This was designed for this sort of thing. Now for the little guy. We line up its little window right on top. And we should get something off of that. 67. God, this thing just is not sensitive. 102. This is a sealed source, so you can hold it right up to the Geiger counter. It doesn't matter. I also do swipe tests on my sources to make sure that they don't have any contamination coming off of them. But this is sealed in epoxy. It's one of the few things you can safely put on top of your system here without too much trouble. By the way, the scintillator is still detecting plenty of radiation. It's actually picking up a little bit from the cesium in my hand. It's that sensitive. Look at that. Almost 400 counts. And if I held this on here long enough, I might get more than 400 too. But I'm too lazy to do that, because I want to show you what the inspector does. Inspector does a great job. Don't get me wrong. Inspector does a fabulous job. I would not do gamma spectroscopy without a Geiger counter on my side. It's useful, but it's not my main tool. This is not contaminating my probe once again. It is a sealed source. 2,000. 3,000, 4,000, 48, 56, 63, 7,000. So 7,000. Not bad. 7,000 counts a minute. Not bad at all. 7,000 counts a minute. Let's see what Mr. Scintillator says. Okay, now what we're going to do here is pop the camera off. And we're going to give the scintillator a moment to chill out. By the way, here's the sample. And you see the scintillator's chilled out back to normal again. It's a little bit elevated because it can detect the cesium. Now, let's put the cesium up against the scintillator. There it is. As you can see, the activity light is now absolutely solid, of course, because, oh my god, that's a lot of radiation. And look at that. Whoa, that's going way over top of the Japanese sample. I might have to scale the window. No, I don't. Okay, good, I don't have to scale the window. Let's see, so we're up here now. So this was background. That's funny. Ran out of video there. Okay, so anyway, back to here. We've got this little cesium sample, same one as before, sitting right in the front. And as you can see, there we are. We're right up here. We've got the regular background. This little tiny increase was when I put the potassium in front of it. Then right here was when the Japanese samples went in front of it, and way the hell up here is now the cesium-137. And we're looking at 6,000, you probably can't see it, but 6,000 counts in 10 seconds, 6,100, 6,100. So we're looking at about 600 counts per second. So your inspector's giving you about 6,000 to 7,000 counts a minute. This is giving you 600 counts per second. 600 counts per second. Now let me show you the other thing that this can do that your Geiger counter cannot. Stop, mode, preamp in. Oh my god, look at that. Look at this peak forming right here. You know what this peak tells me? This peak tells me that I'm detecting cesium-137. Let's switch to a logarithmic view. See this nice arch starting to form? In fact, you know what? Let me put this down here. Let's click stop. Clear it and try one more time just so you can see that form. Watch that. 662 kiloelectron volt peak right there. And you know what that tells me? Unlike your Geiger counter, that tells me that I'm seeing cesium-137 and I know exactly what it is. There's the 32 keV X-rays over there. And a nice Compton plateau with a Compton peak and a backscatter peak. And that, my friends, is how the professionals detect stuff. The Geiger counter is an indispensable tool. Do not get me wrong. It is absolutely an indispensable tool. I wouldn't trade my Geiger counter for anything. But I trust this. It can read the potassium in a single banana. And it can read the radium in a Brazil nut. It did it, if you recall my videos. Anyway, this is Tom from anti-proton.com. Bye-bye. Alright, there's the Japanese sample right there. Japanese sample. As you can see, cesium-134, cesium-134, cesium-137, they're right on top of one another. And all that right there is a bunch of backscatter and all kinds of crazy stuff. That 32 right there is coming from the cesium-137. And that, my friends, is how I can tell my rainwater from my Japanese soil samples and contamination. They're totally, absolutely different. But hold on, let's stop this and put some europium-152 in the place. Europium-152. Right, there's the europium. Now let's clear this and let's start it up and look. Oops, holy crap, I just switched to logarithmic view. It looks totally different. It looks absolutely different. And every single time that you do it, it always looks the same. And that, my friends, is why gamma spectroscopy trumps the Geiger counter. Don't know what else one can say. I guess seeing is believing.